Today we're going to talk about if video podcasts are better than audio podcasts and what kind of advantages do they have compared to audio-only content. Audio-only, it imposes a restriction to your audience in terms of how they can experience the content. The content is there, the interview is there, but you're telling your audience, I force you to experience it only as audio. You can only hear it, you cannot see it. Now, when you have a video podcast, you're giving the audience the freedom to choose how they want to experience the exact same interview. Some people are just more visual than others, and they would place a lot of importance on the video element in the way they experience the content. That's just how they are used to, and they might not be willing to do the jump to just experience it in audio-only form. They might not even discover it if that's not the platforms that they use on a day-to-day basis. Also, video podcasts are easier to monetize. It's very likely that you have it published on YouTube, and YouTube has baked in a lot of monetization from the get-go. Things like the ad revenue of YouTube, or for example, the description box, which is nice and big. You can put like affiliate links where you can earn a percentage for services or products. People can leave a comment with a donation which highlights their comment. People can give super chats donation during live streams. You can also create YouTube subscriptions where people pay a monthly fee to have access to exclusive content then you create for your audience, and so on. This is a huge advantage compared to audio only. You also have visual calls to actions. If you have sponsors, you have the ability to visually show their products. So again, you have a bit more leverage with sponsorship deals when it comes to these kind of things. You have two separate audiences as well. So when you approach sponsors, you can say, I have this many people on YouTube, you have this many people on the audio-only platform. It's just more rich overall. Another advantage is the analytics. When you're dealing with YouTube, you have to think about the fact that they are the same company as Google, so they have the best analytics on the planet. When you understand the behavior of your audience, you know when they stopped watching, you know what triggers them to click, what videos are recommending your video, and all these kind of things. You can change your content and you can adjust your performance accordingly. If you do not have analytics, you're just guessing and you're operating in the dark. So this is a huge thing for your podcast to have. Video podcasts are also easier to discover, and it's easier for them to generate traffic. That's because a lot of social media platforms are heavily visual, and a lot of people on a day-to-day basis experience content visually. So when you start a podcast, you're gonna have to pick your poison, in the sense that if you start an audio-only podcast, the production and the recording will be much easier. There's less software, less tools, it's gonna cost less things to worry about, less complexity. Easier time during the production phase, but harder time to promote, because you're not going to have access to those social media platforms unless you transform your audio only into an audiogram with maybe some stock footage or something. But they're better than nothing, but they don't convert as good as a native podcast that was natively designed for video with human faces and all of that. Now, when it comes to a video podcast, is the opposite. You're going to have a harder time producing it and recording it because there's more equipment, there's higher costs involved, more elements, more things that can go wrong. But at the same time, once it's done, you have an easier time repurposing the content into shorts and cutting it and occupying those social media platforms. You're going to have access to all different algorithms in the social media platforms that might or might not push your content, but you are harvesting the ability, the reach of these platforms in a much, much easier way, as well as being able to extract the audio and occupying the audio-only platforms as well. So you're doing both things at the same time. Let's talk about the personal brand for a second. If your podcast is a video podcast, people can see you as a person, and the whole experience is much more similar to what we see on a day-to-day basis, how we experience real life. We don't experience it with our eyes closed, right? So video content is much closer to real life than audio content, and has that depth and that dimension. They can see you as a person, they can see your body language, and I think it creates a better connection with the audience overall. Another factor to count in is the interaction with the audience. If you are on YouTube, there is a whole different depth and connection between the content creator and the audience. That's because the audience can comment, they can discuss between each other, they can create long conversations. If there is the podcast is live streamed, then they can also jump in during the show, comment, and if they create a super chat donation, the creator can in real time read the comments and gives a whole different dynamic to the show itself. And it makes the audience feel included in the podcast as opposed to just passively experiencing it. So it's not a passive experience, it's an active experience with interactivity. And if you know anything about it, the way content is evolving from, let's say, the television to YouTube, it's progressively getting more interactive. It's not going the other way around. So you know that you've kind of future-proofing yourself when you put your bets on more interaction and more connection with your audience. And I think it converts better too. So to wrap it up, my conclusion is this. Yes, there are advantages to video podcasts, but at the end of the day, execution is key. What I mean by that is I'd rather take an audio-only podcast that is beautifully executed with a perfect experience than a video podcast that has all the resources spread thin and it's poorly executed and doesn't make for a good experience. So make sure that you choose something that you are able to execute correctly with the resources that you have. Might that be the time, the money, the expertise. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little talk. If you appreciate the content, let me know with a comment or give it a like, or even better, a subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Take care.